I went from this
Now, fast forwarding 2, 3 years back to now.
to this. And because of this, I had to pick up many part-time jobs along the way to supplement my dream. Which is why in this video, I'm going to go through 23 things that improved my own public speaking. This is for the people that are okay in conversations with their best friends, but as soon as they've got to speak up in front of someone they don't know, whether that's 1, 2, 3, or massive groups of people, they start to get really nervous and it affects their ability to communicate. Because although I improved the skill of public speaking, I also improved the confidence of my public speaking, which is what these 23 things are going to go through. Improving both my competence, the skill, and my confidence, the exposure of my speech. Let's get into the first one, reps. But putting yourself in an environment where you have to do the reps, because if you are nervous when it comes to public speaking, automatically you're going to avoid the situation. I know, because I did. So you need to put yourself in a community which is going to force you to speak in front of crowds, and it's going to progressively help you, which is why Toastmasters is my first thing to recommend, because it encourages those reps. Everyone is there to support you in your journey within public speaking. And it's only by making those first reps and making them count, it will help you do reps elsewhere. For example, if you go to Toastmasters and you start speaking in front of random people, it might motivate you to start speaking on camera, which is even more reps. Just think about it. James Smith, he is an online PT and he is so good at what he does because he's done that many reps. Look at his Instagram. I'll look at it right now. I think he's got 5,000 posts. Right now, at this current time, he's got 4,955 posts. The reason that he's so good at social media is because he got the reps in. The reason he's great at public speaking is because he got the reps in. That's 4,955 just on his main Instagram. He's then got his business Instagram, he's got his business YouTube, and he's got his big channel YouTube. So think about the amount of reps that he's got in. There's a reason he is where he is, because of the reps. And if you want to get good at public speaking, you want to get the reps in. The reason that I was able to create that sort of transformation with my own public speaking is because I got the reps in. I used to be shy. I used to stumble a lot more on my words. I used to struggle going up in crowds. Now I don't, because I got the reps in. Going on to number 2, and that is watching yourself back. Because if you think that you can improve your public speaking without ever watching yourself back, that's going to be very hard, because that is where you get to figure out what you're doing well and what you're doing not so well. Because the thing with communication and public speaking, you have to build that awareness first in order to improve. If you don't build the awareness, you can't improve in that aspect, which is why you should film yourself, because the way you build your awareness is by watching yourself back to see what patterns you are doing and what mistakes you're doing. For example, when I was improving my filler words, the only way I got rid of them is by watching myself and realizing, okay, I'm saying right now, I'm saying in this situation. Next time, I'm going to try and slow it down, breathe, take my time, and carry on with my next sentence. So it's by watching yourself and reflecting that you can build the awareness, which is then going to make the improvements. Going on to number 3, and that is having a story bank. I used to think, I've got no stories to tell. I used to think, why do people have so much to talk about and I don't? But I'd lived quite an interesting life. I'd travelled across the globe fighting, living in Thailand, Australia, America, England, and I still thought, I've got no stories to tell. That wasn't the issue, and it's probably not your issue either. Your issue is that you don't document your stories, which is why by having a story bank, it will refresh your memory and it will spark a memory, so it will allow you to use these stories in normal conversations or on stages or in meetings. So what your job's going to be is write down a story-worthy moment every single day. That is the job. It might be something so small like, I left my toasting too long and it burnt my toast. It could be something really big like, you got your degree that you've been working 5 years for. But every day, in a notes page in your phone, or get a spreadsheet up, have a story-worthy moment of the day. Because then, after you do this day after day, you're going to pick the best ones out and then you can use them in your presentations to build that emotional connection with your audience. Number 4, this one is similar to number 1, but it's all about filming yourself. Just get used to yapping to yourself, articulating your own thoughts and getting out what you want to get out. Just talk about your day, get a random topic on ChatGPT, but it helps with the reps, because with this number 4, you can go to number 2 and watch yourself back and reflect even more and work on a particular skill. And if you're doing that day in, day out, you will slowly improve your communication. You're filming, you're watching and reflecting and seeing what you need to do, and then you'll do it again and trying to improve in that area. That's the same thing that I did whilst I was in my MMA career. I would have a fight, I'd watch that fight back, see what I did well, see what I didn't do as well, and then I would focus on those areas that I didn't do very well in, and then I'd use that for my next training sessions and my next fights to improve in it. That is the cycle of improvement. Number 5 is getting a speech and copying it in real time. But get your favorite speakers that you want to replicate within your workplace. Do you want to speak like Winston Churchill? Do you want to speak like Obama? Put them on and just copy them for rhythm, working on your tonality and your pitches and your pauses. Now going on to number 6, and that is isolating the problems. Because if you'd ever isolate the problems, you're gonna hinder your improvement. Because when I was training in MMA, I used to always get caught when I threw a jab. I'd throw a jab and I get caught on the backside because I dropped my hand. And I knew I was doing this. So the next sparring session, I thought, okay, Sueno, just keep your hand nice and tight. So I went in again. I went in for the jab, but someone kept catching me with the overhand right because my hand kept dropping, even though I knew I should be keeping it up. So then I started to work on it and isolate that problem because it wasn't working when I was just thinking about it. So I went on the back, I started doing it nice and slow, keeping my hand up. I'd literally go at 10% speed and I'd bring it back. And then I'd work at 20% speed. Then I'd start going even faster, and then I'd start doing it on pads, and then I'd start doing it in drills. Then when it came to sparring, I didn't get caught anymore because I isolated the problem, that specific problem, I slowly increased the intensity, and then I put it into the sparring. That is the same thing with your communication. If you just think about what you need to improve, sometimes it doesn't always work. You want to isolate it by using drills to help you. For example, if you have a tonality problem, you can read a book and pretend you're reading that book to a child for 5 minutes. Because if you read a book really mundane and monotonous, they're not going to be engaged. So by isolating these drills, you're going to be working on that specific area that you can incorporate into your normal communication when you're yapping on camera every single day, which was point number 4. So all these points that I'm going through so far, they all link in. And remember, there is free resources below. I've not mentioned it in the video yet, but free resources in the links below if you want some focus on what to work on when you are isolating your problems. And for that one in particular, look at link number 2 that goes through some exercises that you can use. Number 7 is rejection therapy. Glossophobia facts. Estimated that 40 to 75% of the population has glossophobia. That is the fear of public speaking. But what is the reason that most people experience that anxiety? It's because they are scared of judgment. They are scared of what they're going to be seeing to their peers, to the people around them. They're scared of embarrassment, which is why number 7 is very, very focused towards the embarrassment, because embarrassment is an underexplored emotion. You need to go out there and make a fool of yourself and get used to making a fool of yourself, because once it's the norm and you're not asked what people think around you, public speaking doesn't seem as hard, which is why number 7 is rejection therapy. And that is doing things on purpose, which is going to cause some sort of judgment and some sort of embarrassment. An example, going to a coffee shop and asking for 50% off your coffee. It's something that they're going to say no. They are 100% going to say no, but it's going to make you look stupid. Another example could be walking down the street, stop there and sing for 20 seconds. Another one could be going and asking someone for their number, because there is an element of judgment or embarrassment that is going to be associated with those exercises. And if you can get used to being embarrassed, when you go on stage, when you've got to take a meeting, when you've got to do a presentation, it's not as bad because you're used to it. You're used to being embarrassed. So if you mess up, which is why most people are scared of public speaking, because if it went perfect and they didn't mess up at all and it went great, you think people would be scared? No, hell no. They are scared and they are anxious because of the stories they put in their head that might happen in case they mess up. That's all it is, in case they mess up. Which is why rejection therapy is a great one to get used to that embarrassment element that you feel when you give a speech. Number 8 is getting a coach. I have paid for Vinjan's mentorship. I've paid for Craig Valentine's mentorship. I've paid for, what's his name? Joseph Saar, I think that's how you say his surname. But I've already invested a couple grand into mentorships. I've also just paid £2,000 for a mentorship with Craig Valentine to teach me how to coach. If you want to get better at someone, get a coach. Andy Murray had a coach for his tennis. Usain Bolt had a coach for his athletics. Mo Farah also had a coach for his long distance. Everyone that you know that went to the Olympics or did something great had a coach. Communication is no different. People think that you don't need a coach because everyone can speak. And that's why people think, oh, public speaking coach? Are you off your nut? Are you crazy? Getting a public speaking coach? But if you really want to improve in this element, get a coach. Which is why Toastmasters is a great thing because it gives you guidance. They give you little snippets of guidance, which is kind of like having a coach. But if you want a more full-time coach that's really going to help, check out those free resources below because I will coach you alongside. If you want help with building an influential presentation, if you're struggling with your confidence, there's 2 links below that you can use and I will coach you through the process. I will be in your DMs, your emails every single day. Don't you worry, sending you guidance that you can follow. But all the greats, they all had a coach. Number 9, and that is getting in the extra reps. You don't go to the gym, do 1 bicep curl and expect big biceps. You don't, it doesn't happen. Just like you can't expect to do 1 speech and improve your confidence. You can't expect to do 1 speech and actually have the skill of public speaking. It will help you in the right direction, but it won't solve all your problems that you have with communication. The only way that you will solve your problems, like I said in the very first one, number 1, is getting in the reps. But this one's all about getting in the extra reps. Getting in the extra reps when it's easy. When you're in the car, no one's in the car, you could get extra reps in there. You could practice a speech coming up, practice impromptu questions. When you're walking with your dog, you can practice then, you can put your headphones on. Anywhere that you don't have to go out your way to get the work in, do it. Now, after my head injury, I struggled to pronounce loads of words, so I started getting speech therapy. And with this speech therapy, one of the exercises that she gave me was when I was in my car and I was driving up to the lights to go, I'm going through a green light. I'm going right in the car. I'm going left in the car. She gave me the drill of doing extra reps in the car when no one was there and it didn't take any more time. I was already driving. That's what makes number 9 so great because you're already doing something. You're not wasting any more time. You're just getting extra reps, which builds up in the pot. The more reps that you can get in, the better you will become in the future, as long as you're using the other points to support you alongside. And that goes into point number 10. And point number 10 is the LMH system. This is actually one of my systems that I created. And if you look in the second link in the description, I will give you a full poster. I'm not at home right now, so I don't have this poster with me, but I will put it in the edit. There is a poster that you can get, and it goes through low stakes activities, medium stakes activities, and high stakes activities. If we take it to the MMA gym, if you walked into the MMA gym now having no experience whatsoever, and I got you to spar with a pro MMA fighter, you are probably never, ever, ever going to come back to the gym because you've been scarred, you've been put in the deep end, you've been put in the high stakes situation straight away, and that's going to put you off. It's the same thing with your communication. Sometimes if you just get chucked straight in the deep ends, it can affect you. And it can make you not want to work on this skill at all, which is why you can do low stakes activities first. For example, if I was in the gym or you're in the gym, you're going to work on your footwork, your defense, your offense first. Then you're going to go into medium stakes. You're going to have someone punch at you at maybe 20, 30%. So you can practice these movements. And then you're going to go into the high stakes and go into sparring. It's the same with your communication. Low stakes, activities where it's just you. What I've talked about so far, being in the car, doing those extra reps, speaking to camera. Then you've got medium stakes activities, which goes a bit more into the rejection therapy sort of thing. And that's doing medium just a few. When there's a few people around you, you're only going to get judged by a few people. And then you've got high stakes where all eyes are on you. That's when you're doing a public speech in front of a crowd or you're getting up for a meeting. Low, just you, medium, a few, high, all eyes on you. If you implement this system, you will improve your confidence because you will slowly increase your exposure. That is how you improve your confidence. But if you want that poster right here, check out the link below. Going on to the next one, and the next one is learning frameworks for impromptu. Now I read a book, I'm gonna search the book. Impromptu book. Think Fast, Talk Smarter, and it is by Matt Abrahams. Now, I thought there was going to be some complicated topic in this book. I really did. But after reading this book, I realized that every great impromptu speaker, which is what I'm doing now, impromptu, just where you speak off the cuff, have frameworks to follow. And these frameworks guide them. Just think about it. You never get in the car not knowing where you want to go. Why would you do the same thing with your communication? You want a guide to guide you in the right direction. You want a track to follow. If you have to carve the path in real time, it makes it a lot harder. For example, A framework that you can use is PREP, a point, a reason, an example, and a point. You're going to give your point, a reason for that point, an example for that point, and then the point again. But this guides you in the right direction. Now, there are loads of frameworks that you can follow, but just think, when you see these great yappers, that's what I like to call them, people that can speak at the top of their dome. James Smith is probably the perfect example for this. Even though he may not even know it, he has frameworks to follow to help him with his communication. Problem, agitate, solution. He talks about the problem, he agitates that problem so you relate to it more, and then he talks about the solution, how you can solve that problem. That's a framework that he follows with his videos. Just go check him out, he uses it. So if you can learn 3 frameworks, one is what, so what, now what. The other one, PREP, point, reason, example, point, and the one that I've just said, problem, agitate, solution. Learn some frameworks and then you can use them in different environments. It's like having a sat nav. I don't always follow the sat nav exactly to how it says. Sometimes I think, I could probably go a little bit of a faster route. It's the same thing with this. You don't need to follow it strictly, but it can help support you in guiding you in the right direction. We have got a change of location. I don't know why, but when I was filming this a couple days ago, I forgot this point. I missed it out. Now this point is, make every point answer the question, why should I care? Because when you are speaking for them, you are speaking for the audience. You need to answer, what is in it for me? Why should I care? Today I'm going to speak about my marketing strategies. Why should I care? Why do I care about your marketing strategies? So instead of saying I'm going to, you could say, today you're going to walk away with the tools that I use for my marketing strategies so you can increase your income by $5,000 per month. You've given them a reason to care. So change the angle of how you talk to them. Don't say I'm going to talk about, say you're going to walk away with. If you don't make the audience care, they won't. Which is why, always remember what is in it for me. The stories, the introduction, the conclusion, the props, the points, everything that you include in your presentation, whether that is a meeting, a proper presentation, or that is a Zoom call. Make them care, and you make them care by serving them and giving to them by answering the question, what is in it for me? Back to the original location. Number 13, and that is having your own phrases. Nike has just do it. McDonald's has I'm loving it. Craig Valentine, one of my coaches, he has your dream is not for sale. He has plenty more as well, but having your own unique phrases, I call them impact phrases. My favorite impact phrase is, you're not finished when you're full, you're finished when you're done. Another one that I use is less is more. Another one that I use is small things, big difference. So when you have these impact phrases, you become not only rememberable, but repeatable. That's the main thing with these impact phrases. You want them 10 words or less that people can repeat. Because then if they can repeat them, they will automatically remember them and then they will remember you, which will make it easier for you to influence people and inspire people. And also inform people. 14, build presentations around stories. Because you think when you go in the supermarket and you've already promised yourself you're not going to get those chocolate chip cookies, but then you're walking past them and you smell those chocolate chip cookies. So you're debating in your head, should I put them in my basket, should I not? And then out of nowhere, you go, fuck it. You grab them, you put them in your basket and you're walking away. And then as you're walking away, you then try to justify the reason for you putting those chocolate chip cookies in your basket. And you say, oh, well, I've burnt an extra 100 calories at the gym today compared to what I normally do. So I deserve these chocolate chip cookies. That is how people make decisions. They make them with emotion and they back it up with logic after, which is why presentations should be around stories because they build that emotional attachment. You're going to create the emotion with the story and then you can back it up with logic after, your message, your facts, your analogies, something that is a logical standpoint. We just want to match how humans make their decisions if you want to influence people. Start with the emotion, back it up with logic after that. Going on to number 15, and that is telling you stories, but then message. Because remember this, people don't care about you. They care how you can help them. Everything is what is in it for me. And if you just go, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, they don't care. For example, this video right here, I've talked about me, but I've made it about you by saying you can do the same thing if you copy these 23 things. It's the same with your presentations. Tell a personal story about you so they can connect emotionally and then relay it onto them and give the message that is about them. What can they learn? What can they do? And what can they think from this situation? Going on to number 16, and that is pausing after key lines like this. Because when you pause, it gives the audience time to think. You see how you're thinking about what I was saying now? And now you're thinking about what I was saying about what I was saying? Yeah. The more you pause, the more time they have to think, which is why when you have something that you've said that's really important, pause after it. Give them time to reflect, especially if you're using any sort of questions. Give them time to reflect. Let them soak in that information. Because remember, if they are reflecting in their minds, they are engaging. And the more engaged they are, the more likely you are to inform people, to influence people, and to inspire people. Going on to number 17, and that is eye contact. When I started giving public speeches, I struggled looking at everyone. I found it really hard. And when I did look at someone and look them deep into their eyes, I lost my train of thought. I forgot what to say just because I was looking into their eyes. So I started to research what can I do to make it a little bit easier for me. Because every time I looked dead set into their eye, boom, it was gone. So what I started to do is look at people's chins. Because when you're standing on a stage or you're at the front of the boardroom, people can't tell. You're quite far back. So if you're looking at someone's chin or you're looking at someone's eye, the people sitting down don't know the difference. They can't tell. Just like right now, I'm looking at the top of the lens. I'm looking at the bottom of the lens. I'm looking at the left side of the lens. I'm looking at the right side of the lens. You don't have a clue. So if you start to feel a little bit awkward whilst you're giving eye contact, whilst giving a public speech, look at people's chins, look at their necks, look at their noses. Because from where you are looking at them, to them, it will seem like, oh, they're really connecting with me. They're really looking me in the eye. But to you, it will make all the difference when you're giving your speech. Now, number 18, and that is big words don't make you clever. I used to think that if I wanted to be a really, really good public speaker and a really intelligent public speaker, I had to learn new words and better words and bigger words that would really expand my vocab. And I am trying to expand my vocab, but I was spending hours trying to use these massive words in sentences that just made me sound like a Dumbo, because they were too big. And the problem was, they didn't understand what I was saying. I was saying these words, but the audience didn't understand these words. And that's the problem. Because remember, you're not speaking for you, you're speaking for the audience. You're there to solve their problem. So if you're using language, big words, or even jargon that they don't understand, it's going to be very hard for you to inform, influence, and inspire. Which is why the best speakers, they have the ability to get a complex topic and simplify it. Because if you don't know something well enough, you won't be able to explain it in simple terms. And the way that you can explain things in simple terms is by using analogies. You see how I use the supermarket analogy with the chocolate chip cookies? I've been using the fighting analogies. I've been using the sat-nav analogy. It's to explain it in a term, in a way that you will understand so you can relate to this point even more. So if you really want to connect, use analogies that will benefit the audience. And number 19 is rehearsing your speech out loud. Because I would type a speech, and then I would try and read that speech, and it wasn't flowing. It wasn't connecting. It didn't feel me. It felt like I was speaking someone else's brain. Because that's the thing. You don't type the same way you speak, which is why if you want to make sure your speech flows for you and it works for you, you need to rehearse these words out loud, not just in your head. And that is where these extra reps can come in. You can do it whilst you're on a walk. You can do it whilst you're in the car. You can do it whilst you're at home. You can do it whilst you're waiting for your kids to finish their football class. But rehearse these words out loud. And you don't have to scream these words out. Just speak them. Have a conversation with yourself using your script that you've wrote out for your speech. Because when it comes to giving your speech, it'll make it a lot easier. Number 20 is focusing on giving and not taking. Because that's why most people get nervous. They're on stage to take. Oh, what am I gonna look like? Oh, how am I gonna come across? But you think about it, if you had £10 and I asked you to go give that to a homeless person, you would not care, not one bit. But if I asked you to ask this randomer that walks past you for £10, you're probably gonna start to get a little bit nervous. Or if I asked you to go to Starbucks and ask them for £10, you're gonna get a bit nervous. Your heart's gonna start to pulse, your palms are gonna get a bit sweaty, and your stomach's probably gonna churn. Why? It's £10. They were both £10 in those situations, but one is giving and one is taking. And when you go on stage, when you speak to give them value, to give them some sort of benefit, to change their life, to help them get from point A to point B, Your nerves go down because you're not taking anymore, you're giving. Number 21 is being different. Oh, and remember, free resources below if you want some help with your public speaking skills. But 21 is being different. Your job whilst you're giving a public speech at work is to keep their attention. If you can't keep their attention, whatever you want them to think, feel, or do after listening to you will not happen because their mind is over there, even though their eyes are looking at you. Which is why in order to keep that attention, you have to be different. That might be by using props, using different stories, using different physical actions, using surprising statements, maybe activities that gets the audience involved, maybe funny analogies. But if you start a speech like this, hello everyone, thanks for letting me come and speak today. My name's Sueno and they've gone in default mode. You need to get them out that default mode and be different. If your speech does not stand out from the crowd, you will not gain their attention in the way that you want to. You might think you have because they're looking at you, but trust me, their mind's over there because that's the exact thing that happens when I'm watching a speech. If it's not different, yeah, I'm looking at you, but I'm not concentrating one bit. And your job is to keep their attention for as long as possible. The only way you will keep people's attention is by solving their problems and being different and standing out from the crowd. Just think, if you had spaghetti bolognese tonight, you're probably gonna enjoy it. I hope you are gonna enjoy it because that's my favorite meal. But if you had it the day after, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that, you're probably going to start to hate spaghetti bolognese. It's not because the spaghetti bolognese was any different, but it's because it's been the same. And when something's the same over and over again, it gets boring, which is why your presentations, they need to be different. And number 22 is all about the end of your sentences, because after living in Australia, people always inflict their pitch up after sentences. But this is how it should be to make sure you're giving across the right message. If you have a sentence go down in your pitch, your tonality, your pitch, it goes down. If you have a question, it goes up. So when someone asks you for your name and you go, oh, my name's Stafford Swainston, you're asking a question. Really, it should be going down. Stafford Swainston. It makes you sound certain, it makes you sound sure, and it makes you sound confident. They're just slight nuances with how you pronounce the words at the end of your sentences. And that takes me on to 23, and that is probably the most important one of all these that I've gone through so far. And that is focus on one thing at one time. Do less, don't do more. The more balls that you have to juggle, the harder it is to juggle. And before you know it, you'll be juggling so many balls that you will drop them all and they will all be on the floor. It's the same with improving your communication. Pick one skill, one area. Is it your pause? Is it your fillers? Is it your tonality? Is it your storytelling? Is it your body language? Is it your gestures? Is it your stage presence? Is it your exposure? But pick one of these elements that I've gone through so far, work on it, reflect on it, isolate it, do it again. And do that until you start to feel comfortable in that element, in that skill, doing that skill. And then move on to the next one. That's the most important advice about all of these. Do one at a time, because if you try too many things, you will probably just fail. Small things over and over again will make a massive difference. Small things, big difference. And that is, remember, let me have a look, that is number 13, using your own phrases. And remember what I said, links are in the description below for some free resources. And although these 23 things are very important to improve the competence of your communication and the confidence whilst you're communicating, it's very important to capture your audience from the very start, because remember what I said, attention is key. But if you can't catch the attention of the listeners from the get-go, it's pointless. Which is why, if you want to know how to open your speech correctly, so they hang on to every single word, you probably should watch this video. Anyway, adios, gym time, bitches.